otra vez a otro episodio más de Hablando Claro. Sabe que tuvimos un par de días apagaditos, pero estamos trabajando en varias cosas, varios proyectos y varios planes que tenemos, que poco a poco se van a dar de cuenta, van a ir conociendo. Tenemos un concierto ya pronto a venir en junio. Con nosotros va a estar Cristian Ponce de Puerto Rico, así que eso va a ser una gloria. La idea es poder ganarnos a la gente de afuera, los que están perdidos, ganarnos a la juventud, trayendo lo que les gusta, la música. Y sabemos que esta estrategia va a funcionar y le creemos a Dios por una generación nueva que quieran adorar al Señor. Amén. A mí me gusta bregar y trabajar con los jóvenes porque sé que en ellos es que está el futuro. Amén. Y por eso quisimos hacer un podcast nuevo, trayendo, probando otras cosas nuevas. Y la idea mía siempre es que se puedan desarrollar otras personas. Y en este caso, me gustaría que los jóvenes de la casa también se desarrollen. Pero antes de comenzar, quiero darle un aplauso al Padre y al Hijo y al Espíritu Santo, que es el que nos da la fortaleza, nos da las ideas, nos da la motivación para seguir trabajando. Y como siempre, un agradecimiento a la casa donde me congrego y nos congregamos todos, ¿verdad? Porque siempre nos dan la oportunidad y nos abren el espacio para que podamos traer esto. Amén. En esta noche, o esta tarde, o este día, dependiendo del momento que lo está viendo usted, tenemos un podcast especial. Vamos a conversar con los jóvenes de la casa, con algunos de ellos. Vamos a charlar y conocerlos un poco. Y voy a empezar para que los vayan conociendo. ¿Cuál es tu nombre?
Me llamo Johan Rodas.
Johan Roda. Habla duro, Johan.
Soy el líder del ministerio de worship aquí en la casa Juda.
Amén.
And lead guitarist for the band.
Amén. Y con nosotros también está.
Hola, mi nombre es Hadasa Vallejo.
Dusty Rodriguez.
No tengan miedo. Y como siempre, la traductora, la sierva del equipo, Easy. ¿Cómo está Easy?
Estoy bien.
Ya un par de días que no nos juntábamos.
I know.
Hacía
Oh my
falta
God.
ya.
Yes.
Pues vamos a estar conversando con ellos, conociéndolos un poco, conociendo quiénes son. Y sabemos que Dios tiene planes con cada uno de ellos en diferentes áreas. Y la idea es que se puedan desarrollar, que puedan crecer. Amén. Y yo sé que esta plataforma será de bendición para que ellos bendigan la vida de otros jóvenes también, a través de lo que ellos viven, de lo que ellos hablan y de lo que han experimentado. Amén. ¿También entienden?
Yeah.
¿No necesitan la traductora?
Not yet, huh?
¿Qué te gusta hacer, Johan? Aparte de estar aquí.
Apart from worshiping God and being here, I like music. I like playing guitar. All instruments, really. I also like playing sports. It's kind of my hobby. But I like all forms of art. Those are my hobbies.
Bueno. ¿Y a ti, Adasa, qué te gusta hacer?
I like, excuse me, sorry. I like dancing, on the stage, worshiping God, ministering the people through my dance moves. And one of my favorite hobbies is drawing and painting. Creating beautiful masterpieces of art that God has talented me with, and just praising God through everything, and just really worship and art.
¿Me lo puede traducir ahí, sierva, para que los que no...
Yes. So, ella dijo que a ella le gusta estar danzando para el Señor. Le gusta también dibujar. What else did you say?
Painting.
Pintar también. Anything else? No. Y eso es todo.
¿Y tú, Destiny?
I like to dance.
Pégate un poco más al micrófono.
I
Ahí.
like to dance, and that's it.
Nada más. Ok. Es fácil, ¿viste? Amén. Ustedes como jóvenes, hoy en día, sabemos que el mundo ofrece tantas cosas porque pues Satanás ha entendido que en la juventud está la próxima generación. So, ¿cuáles son las batallas que usualmente ustedes tienen constantemente en la vida? Por ejemplo, siempre hay cosas que uno dice, wow, esto a veces me quiere jalar, esta cosa, por ejemplo, a veces la música. Hay muchas maneras, ¿verdad? Que el enemigo a veces quiere utilizar para... Y si hay algo que ustedes viendo en otros jóvenes, ¿cuál sería la batalla que ustedes pueden ver en otros jóvenes que constantemente atraviesan? Como jóvenes, ustedes. ¿Entendieron la pregunta?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of battles that we deal with is probably the ability to obtain everything right at your fingertips. You know, there is temptation literally everywhere from just our screens. There's also, I think, a lot of things that attract us that are outside of church, that are not in church, and that has nothing to do with God. I think there's been such an embarrassment in worshiping God and loving Him publicly in our generation, where, I mean, let's be honest, if you're going to be embarrassed about worshiping your God, are you going to want to do it publicly? I wouldn't. So I think that is a really difficult struggle that my generation tends to deal with.
¿Me voy a traducir un poco ahí?
Voy a traducir lo
Sí,
que,
lo que
sacaste ahí,
pudiste
porque
entender.
dijo
I'll
mucho.
stop,
Pero,
like, little.
yeah, please.
I got you.
Pero él dijo que una de las batallas que los jóvenes tienen ahora en día es que pueden obtener tantas cosas en sus manos, ¿verdad? Por las pantallas, que hay tentaciones solamente de eso. Y que hay muchas cosas que están afuera que también le llaman la atención.
Yeah.
Okay.
¿Y tú, Adasa?
The question is, what are our battles, right?
Yeah, like what are, like nowadays, that you feel youth battle with? What are things?
Mostly, yes, temptation. A lot of things come from temptation, and of temptation comes from a lot of things. Anxiety may lead to the temptation of pushing ahead and pushing everyone else out of the way. Depression may lead to the temptation of suicide, and there's a lot of other temptations that, you know, are out in this world, but those are the main two that I've approached, and a lot of youth have approached through their main time. And I really just encourage people to, you know, read God's word, because like Johan said, that there's a lot of embarrassment, and Christians really struggle now in these days as there is spiritual warfare, that we need to overcome that temptation. And yeah, by now it's getting worse and worse, and we really have to put God first.
Amén.
So ella dijo que algunas de las cosas con que ellos tienen batalla es con la ansiedad y depresión, que los toman a tomar decisiones que son más allá. Y que como Johan dijo, que hay momentos donde uno como joven está batallando en verdaderamente adorar sin timidez, sin tener miedo, que eso es algo que con lo cual ellos también batallan ahora.
Sí, definitivamente. ¿Y tú, Destiny?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so what are the battles nowadays that youth are dealing with?
Por ejemplo, tú en la escuela, quizás tú no tienes esa batalla, pero puedes conocer amistades o otros muchachos en la escuela y puedes conocer sus historias y te pueden decir, yo siempre tengo esta batalla en mi vida.
Do you understand?
Say it again.
So for example, he's saying like, you might not have a problem, but you may see it in someone else, right? So what he's asking is like, you know how the enemy tries to pull you in a direction that is opposite to what God wants you to do, right? So what are the things that you see as a youth that you are battling with that try to stray you from the path of God?
Like drugs. Because like sometimes they want to like stop, but then something always pulls them back into doing it.
So ella dijo drogas porque algunas veces los jóvenes quieren parar de hacerlo, pero algo pasa que los tira o los jala a hacerlo otra
Sí,
vez.
por ejemplo, en la escuela, muchas veces, ¿no? Yo estuve en la escuela también, yo tuve su edad. Yo estoy joven todavía, pero tuve su edad. Y conocí muchachos que tuvieron diferentes tipos de problemas. Algunos tenían problemas quizás de atención en su hogar y siempre querían tratar de sobresalir por una necesidad que tenían ellos, un vacío. Y muchas veces nosotros como adultos no entendemos cuando un joven simplemente quiere que lo escuchen. ¿Me siguen? ¿Me entienden? Entonces, ustedes como jóvenes, quizás conociendo a Dios, pueden conocer a otros jóvenes que están pasando situaciones en su vida y ellos pueden, todos tenemos amigos que quizás le dicen, mira, yo me siento así hoy. ¿Qué consejo ustedes pueden darle?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Puede hablar cualquiera. Los tres pueden contestar, pero uno a la vez.
Gotcha. You guys want to go first? All right. So, yeah, I've had a lot of friends who've come to me and they say, I feel this way. I don't know how to get out of this hole that I'm stuck in, or, I'm trapped in this certain position and I don't know what to do. And I've had a lot of people come to me like that, friends, best friends of mine that have spoken to me this way. And I tell them that as a friend personally, I love them no matter what happens. But my love will never compare to God's, because my love can make you feel a certain way, but God's will transform you completely. So I think that is some advice I give. I also give prayer. I'll sometimes throw, a word from the Bible or two. And, because these are things that are proof. They're like instructions almost. They're descriptions of how you should manage with certain things. And that's how I try to help, by giving advice. Advice that I've taken in personally and has helped me reflect on myself.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question again?
So he asks, as youth that are battling with things, what advice can you give them?
Don't give up. Just straight and plain, don't give up. A lot of youth right now are lazy, and school is getting harder and harder by the minute. The math problems over here is Annie has 2 apples, right? She gives 1 to Ace. How old is Ace? I don't know. So like, just don't give up. Try to use your brain. Keep focused, because there's so many distractions in the world, and then those distractions give us the temptation to give up, because we see them as a gateway to maybe, I don't know, anything. And Jesus said that the wide is the road, but broad is the way, and it's very different. And since it's so wide, a lot of people go through it, right? But then narrow is the walkway, but difficult it is, and few find it. So I'm going to translate that to temptation and earthly things are the wide road. It's easy to walk through it. It's nice, it's calming. And smoking, drugs, and all these different things that the world offers you is, things that you pick along the way until you reach that gate, and then you realize, shoot, I darned up. And then narrow is the way where it will take so difficulty, because life isn't easy. Like I just explained, the math question made no sense at all. And you really have to push your effort through. You have to squeeze through all those things. If you're claustrophobic, I'm sorry, but I can't say anything. But you have to keep pushing your way through, because when you reach the end, it will be so worth it. So I would suggest, do not give up, because life is going to throw tons of boulders, bricks, stones, rocks, glass, everything at you, everything that they can pick up and at you. But you have to have God as your shield to protect you from everything. That's why God should be our foundation, and God should be our motivation never to give up.
Tradúcenos un ching ahí para los que no hablamos inglés.
Porque ella dijo mucho, pero dijo muchas cosas que son bien interesantes también y son fuertes. So, básicamente ella está diciendo que hoy en día hay muchas cosas que están pasando allá afuera con los jóvenes. O sea, ellos tienen tarea que tiene que ser con matemática, que no es lógico. So, algo que ella dijo era que no se rindan, ¿verdad? Porque la vida no es fácil. Te va a tirar una balsa de cosas para distraerte, para tirarte al otro lado, pero que no te rindas, sino que busques a Dios y lo tengas como un escudo. Yes. Estaba pensando en la espada.
También la necesita.
Sí, también la necesita también. Y también habló de la palabra como Dios debe de ser ese pedazo que te motiva, pero también que te jala y te empuja para seguir.
Amén, definitivamente. ¿Y tu destiny?
So, as youth, right, that are going through things, battling things, what advice can you give them?
They're going through things, battling.
Como por ejemplo, quizás tú no estés pasando esa situación, pero tú conoces a alguien, conoces amigos que quizás te dicen, yo estoy pasando por esto. Y tú piensas que, bueno, la persona piensa que tú le puedes dar un consejo porque ella sabe que tú conoces a Dios o asistes a la iglesia. ¿Me entiendes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll tell them to pray, and even though they feel alone, that they're not, because obviously God is always with them, and I'm here, and that's it.
Muy bien. Van muy bien, o sea, no crean que están haciéndolo muy bien. Va a ser la primera vez. La primera vez cuando yo lo hice, yo dije 4 palabras y lo demás no sé ni lo que dije. Pero van muy bien.
You're doing good, guys.
¿Cuáles son las cosas que ustedes piensan que un joven necesita para poder caminar en un camino correcto?
What are the things that you think a youth needs in order to walk on the correct path?
That's a tricky question to answer.
Como tú quieras en tu corazón, responde.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that comes into play when it comes to, I think, raising a child to the right path.
Duro, habla duro para oírte.
Gotcha. I think, for starters, how we were speaking about the atmosphere in the house, because that's where you first wake up. That's where you go to bed. You know, that's the place you're leaving. You're supposedly your most comfortable place on earth. You should feel comfortable. You should feel safe in your house. And lack of comfort and safety in your life, let alone in your house, how are you going to act outside of your house? How are you going to walk outside of your house? Once you take that step outside the door, how are you going to see things? How are you going to perceive things? I think just how we do here before we worship, we pray, we ask God to prepare us spiritually and mentally so we can give the best worship that we can towards Him. I think the way we should prepare the atmosphere in our house is with love, with kindness. Just as if God were to treat us, He treats His children with kindness, with love, with respect. Parents should do the same thing with their children. And I think preparing yourself, your child, first from your house, then taking them out into the real world, it'll let them experience a couple things. You know, they'll probably go through hardships, very true. But I think having that love and connection at home allows them, one, to react better to it, and two, come to you and speak to you about it. Because you want your child to speak to you, to be truthful to you, just as God wants us to be to Him. So I think having that safety and comfort at home allows you to do that, gives you that room to speak.
Amén. Tradúceme ahí, Silva.
So, él estaba hablando de que es bien importante la atmósfera en la casa, ¿verdad? Porque ese es el lugar donde todo empieza. Y de ahí, cuando uno sale, entonces tiene que ver cómo lidiar con las cosas. Y él dijo que es lo mismo como cuando nosotros llegamos aquí para adorar a Dios. Lo primero que hacemos es orar para poder adorarle de la mejor manera.
Definitivo.
Que es lo mismo que debe de pasar en la casa con los padres hacia los hijos, que debe haber ese entendimiento de amor, ¿verdad? De poder escuchar también.
Muy bien.
So the question was what?
¿Cuáles son las cosas que ustedes piensan que un joven necesita para estar en un camino correcto?
So like Johan was saying, a good atmosphere. Because a child is like a plant. Now, there's like 3 types of plants that I can think of. Let's do a home plant, the desert plant, and a plant that was in the sea, right? I'm going to change it up a little.
Okay.
So,
I see you.
a plant that's a homemade plant needs to stay at home. It's perfectly situated at the house that the homeowner or the gardener or whatever it is that's taking care of the plant is going to give it the right amount of water, the right amount of sunlight, the right amount of fertilized soil. Same thing with the desert plant. Let's do a cactus. Now, a cactus is suited perfectly for the hot sun, the burning, scorching sun, the scorching sand. It can survive on a littlest amount of water. That's why it's so suited for that. And then a plant in the sea is suited for the sea because it can absorb all that water and still survive in that climate with the still little amount of sun that's coming down in it. And, it's a food source for the animals too, so it provides for the animals. Now, if you take a cactus and put it in the ocean, how in the world you think it's going to survive with all that water? It's not going to do that because it's only supposed to have the little amount of water. And then a house plant inside the desert is not going to survive at all because, first of all, it's too hot and probably not going to be any water. And then it's not even soil, it's sand. And then if you put, let's do a seaweed. If you put seaweed inside your house, you have to have an aquarium because seaweed needs a lot of water in order to survive. It can't just survive out of thin air. So, yeah, a child can be in 3 situated places. A peaceful home, a godly home, a strict, really strict home that the child has to obey the parents directly, or let's do a gangster home. That's, everybody's rebels and everything out of the world. So the child is going to grow up in that situation, and the parents are the supervisors and what's the word? They are responsible for the child in that atmosphere, in that position. If the child is in like a world with gangsters and stuff like that, it's in out in the street world, the child's gonna get abandoned in the street, gonna get thugs, gonna go like half dead, half alive, and go to the hospital. And if the child is in the strict home, it's gonna be very tough, very brilliant, but also very probably insecure, low self-esteem, probably not able to trust anybody because how the parents were strictly told to them. And they're probably not going to even try to share their feelings because how much they clustered up inside. And then a godly home, everybody is loved, everybody's peaceful with each other. They understand because God is within the household, that God always comes first, and their love for one another is beyond measure. That's exactly how God pictures us, and that's where, there's different situations where God puts in us that we need to make it his home, his godly home. That's why in this church, we're supposed to make it a huge atmosphere that you can feel so safe. And that's why I think children, if you see these little kids running around all over the stage, one climbing up the walls, but they feel safe. That's their safe space. Yes, we have to tell them to get off in a certain way, but they can feel themselves around here. That's what I think that needs to push them forward in order for them to grow, in order for them to feel, God atmosphere, in order to walk in that right path.
All right.
I'm
Wow.
sorry, that's a lot.
No, that is a lot, but I'm gonna try to translate as much as I can, because you mentioned a lot of things that were very interesting. Ella comenzó a hablar de las plantas, ¿verdad? De 3 diferentes tipos de plantas, que es una que es de la casa, del desierto, y uno que está en el agua. So ella dijo que dependiendo de lo que requiere la planta, uno tiene que hacer. Y uno no puede coger una planta y meterlo en otro lugar donde no va a sobrevivir. Y así mismo ella vino y aplicó, o mejor dicho, usó de ejemplo, como es igual con los jóvenes o los niños, dependiendo de cómo la casa es, la estructura, cómo son los padres, la atmósfera también, tiene mucho que ver con lo que pasa con los jóvenes y cómo ellos perciben las cosas.
Bueno, así mismo, definitivamente.
That was nice.
Ahora tu Destiny.
Can you repeat the question?
All right.
¿Cuáles son las cosas que ustedes, los jóvenes, piensan que necesitan para estar en un camino correcto?
So what are the things that you think as a youth that you need to be on the correct path?
I think we need good influencers.
Wow,
Ooh.
eso está bueno.
That was
do I.
good. That was good.
Like,
Let's go,
Yeah,
Destiny.
yeah.
Definitivo, ¿no?
like, like, in order for us to like succeed and follow God's path, we need to have people that are gonna hype us up and be there for us. We can't have people that are gonna be negative. Because if someone's negative, then they're gonna just drag us down.
Se ganó una estrellita.
Yeah, she got that.
Ahora que hablaste de la influencia, hoy en día, ¿qué es lo más que influencia a los jóvenes?
Ooh.
So now that you spoke about influence, like
Me gustó eso.
now, what is it that nowadays is influencing the youth more?
I don't know. There's a lot. There's like
Por eso, lo que
Yeah,
tú,
but
lo,
just
hay
say-
mucho, sí.
Say what you got.
social media.
Ajá.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll like social media is fake.
Ujú.
Not everything's on it is like real. So they'll tell us, "Oh, go do this," but it's not real. So then we're gonna do it, and then we're gonna get like the bad. I don't know how to explain that.
Muchas veces te dicen que seas algo que no eres.
Yeah. So like, if we get a product, and they're like, "Oh, it's skincare," so it'll be like, "Oh, this takes your pimples away," and then we get it, and then we get more pimples than we already have.
And we have more acne than what we did, what we started with.
Anuncio engañoso.
Yeah. Que sí que.
Yeah, I think social media is it's like a way to perceive yourself as attractive as market. You know,
Yep.
Social media is market. Everything is in America. Everything anywhere is for sale. You know, you can sell me that hat for $50. You know, and that other person over there for 15, right? But the way I see it is, everyone tries to sell themselves, tries to sell their image, tries to sell a product, how you said. And I think a lot of the times, us as we're developing, our mind is developing still. And to this day, I'm pretty sure, I think up to 20s, 30s, right? You still develop.
Yep.
But I think at our young age, since we're so influenced very easily, that's feeding into our minds, you know? And we're going to get tricked. We're going to get scammed so easily just
Yep.
because we're so young and I think vulnerable, in our opinion, when it comes to mental strength.
Yep.
I think we lack a lot of mental strength. So I remember when I was a kid and I would use my mom's phone a lot. I would scroll on Amazon and like look at all these things that I would want to buy. And at some point, my mom ended up getting something for me. I was like, I don't like this anymore. But I spent my money on it, right? My hard-earned money. And I was upset. And I think, like you said, social media, to an extent, is not real. It's perception. It's attraction to the mind where you want to look that way. You want to show off this image that you have. But is that what you are? Is that who you are? And that's what I think.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go off also on social media and TV as well. TV shows, anything you see. Now, when I was a kid, I loved Ninja Turtles. I watched like 5 episodes straight, and I'm over here kicking the walls. And I really thought I was a ninja. I even tried a karate class. My parents literally enrolled me in one of them, and I'm like, yeah, I'm smart. I can chop a bullet. And then, yeah, it has such an influence on you, even certainly little children. Like I said, I'm like 5 years old, kicking the walls and stuff like that. My sister jumping off everything, pretending she's a firefighter, preaching in her room. I'm like, yeah, you go, girl. And then it really has an impact. Social media, TV shows, even music as well.
Exacto. Ahí que está. Ajá.
Yes.
The
Go ahead, girl.
different types of music that you listen to, rock and roll, you're going to be a rebel. You're going to be bashing around the streets. If you listen to classical, you're going to be nice, peaceful, and calm. That's what my dad taught me. Rap music is for the poor, and classical music is for the rich. Because if you see any person that's billionaire, millionaire, they don't listen to rap. Well, not all of them. But they mostly listen to classical, like violin, cello, whatever else. You know, classical piano, what is it called? I don't know, the big piano with wooden
Grand piano.
thing. And then rap, you see in the streets, everybody's playing rap, blasting it out of their cars, out of their, big bass and everything. I'm not saying it's bad. We all, even I do like rap, Christian rap, of course.
Sí,
But
porque
it does have
aclarar,
Hay
sí,
un
para
lío,
porque ya
hay
me
un
sentí
lío.
ya
Se me-
perdido. Ya tenía una conversación con su papá ahorita. Pastor, tenemos que hablar de algo.
I'm gonna have to admit, I play Christian rap when I'm like really hyped up. When I want to do my exercises, I play on something that has a really catchy beat. I'm like, yeah, we're going through it. And then when I want to play peaceful music for study, I play classical piano, rain falling, and it really soothes my ease. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, it does have really influence because it depends on what you play, what you hear, what you see, and it always affects you. What you see, what you perceive, is what you become. I know someone that swears, and I asked him like, "Why do you swear so much?" And he's like, "Yeah, stuff like that." He started swearing and cussing at me, and I'm like, "You should stop swearing." And he's like, "Well, if there's dumb people around you, and there's a bomb, right? He's gonna you have to talk dumb so you can set off the bomb." And I'm like, "I'd rather die." I was like, "Dude, I can't. I don't want to become like them. I'd rather die." So but that hit me hard because some people, they want to fit in so bad, and that pushes them to become dumb in the way around them. Because if you see, ain't nobody that smart. Well, actually, when we rephrase that, there's a lot of people that are smart but do silly curse words and everything. But mostly, people that are smart in a higher level, you don't see like what is it? The government. You don't see him swearing everywhere on the streets and stuff like that. He wants to show respect. He wants to be presentable, because that is what he's showing off to the communities. What he's perceiving. If you want to be cussing out on the streets and everything, people are gonna think like, "Oh, get you over there. Someone call 911." But then if you want to look presentable, you're gonna be like, walking around the street with a suit on, and you're like, "Ooh, that's a guy that you should respect. That you should put, you should look at him and see that's who I want to become." So that music, social media, and everything, huge impact on that. What Johan said, a lot of people sell their image. They don't have an image at all. They collect someone and they think, showing off them. They say, "Oh, she has a nice body. I'm gonna get plastic surgery. Oh, she has this. I'm gonna get that." And they show them off. And there's something about media, social media, that really intrigued me. If you're really too low, you're considered cringe. If you post stupid videos, I've seen a lot of stupid videos, and it's really saddening. Some people over here acting like wild animals on the street, and I'm like, and then there's really high class people that people think they're showing off, and there's like haters and everything, like, "Oh, you should go down, why are you showing off and everything?" And apparently you always have to be in the middle. You can't be too high, too low, and that really depends. And it's really saddening. And some people, yes, they collect each other's image, and they think, "Oh yeah, I'm creating my identity. I'm creating this." Your identity is from God. What are you talking about? Read the Bible. Tell me, what do you see social media on there? I don't see anything. I see God. That's it. I see Jesus talking about God straightly. That's why he came down here to preach the good news, not for everyone to tell him the good news, so him to preach it. Because everybody over here is dumb, and he had to teach them through parables to make everybody smart again. But apparently, some people would not perceive that. So he took the people that he could, that would perceive them, that some people on social media, that they will show who they are, they'll show their true identity. And then those people, you will have haters, of course. And I also saw in this video that people with haters tend to hate on people that they can't level up to. Haters will see a person like, "Oh, he's smart. I'm dumb. I'm going to hate on him because he's smart and I'm dumb." I'm like, okay, go get smarter then. Do something, be like me. Because some people like, "You know what? I'm not going to go anywhere. But I'm gonna stay in my situation. I'm going to stand right here. But I don't want to go anywhere." But then, when I see someone above me, I'm going to start hating on them so bad. I'm like, just level your game. Keep on focusing with God, your Lord, and that's it. Focus on his relationship, and that's it. Because some people, if you stay in that same place with all these temptations, all these drugs and everything, and you're over here looking like a ragged person off the street, you're looking like this. I'm like, bro, walk straight up first. Walk straight up with the Lord, And then when she walks straight up, I'll be like, okay, there's a guy I want to respect. Not someone else. What's up? Like, what is that?
Yo creo que ella no puede traducir todo eso. ¿Tú puedes traducir algo?
No, yo voy a tratar. Me gustó algo que ella dijo, ¿no?
Sí, lo más importante.
Porque ella dijo que como en las redes sociales, algunas veces los jóvenes toman su identidad de eso.
Yeah.
Sí, ahí va a llegar
I
la
really-
pregunta.
I really
eso fue
wanted
lo que
to-
me llamó
yeah.
la
Sí,
atención.
ahí
was
va a
a good
preguntar
one.
algo yo.
Porque ella después dijo, tu identidad está en la palabra.
Ujú.
¿De qué tú estás hablando? ¿Por qué tú estás buscando tu identidad en las
Yeah.
redes sociales?
I think
you know?
I think talking on that though, a lot of people create their image from social media, right? They'll just say, and that creates a shallow person. That creates someone with no identity, with no personality.
Entonces estamos todos de acuerdo que lo más que carecen los jóvenes hoy en día es una falta de identidad.
Yeah, I think lack of character, you know?
Falta de carácter. Él dijo falta de carácter.
Sí, porque la identidad te hace cuando tú no tienes identidad, no tienes carácter, no tienes otras
Yeah.
cosas más que, que van junto.
Yeah.
La predicadora, suelta.
I gotta add to that because that also took me back to childhood. When you are in the age between like 3 to 10, you are in the middle of developing of who you are. That's why Jesus said, "Perceive me at a very young age during childhood." Because if you see some kids over here, crop tops and everything, showing off at the beach, literally one string here, one string up there, like I can't with you, and I'm like. You good, but it's because of lack of character. Now, yes, I'm over here, my pop and baby Sue walking down the street. Yeah, I'm fine, but I also have my identity, my character that I'm in Christ. Yeah, I will not be showing off everything, but I know I'm confident in myself because I know who I am. A lot of children lack of that because either their parents, their friends, peer pressure, or just them overall themselves. Let's consider them as voices. A lot of kids struggle with voices in their head that think, even though their parents show them love, or their friends show them love, or their family shows them love, the voices will continuously tell them they're faking, maybe they don't love you as much, maybe you should do this and that, and then they go to social media to maybe help themselves feel better, and that doesn't do anything. That's why, me and my parents telling Isabella, instead of watching Papa Pig and acting like a pig off the street, watch something more educating that will actually help you learn the way to act, the way to think,
Yes.
be smart. And Isabella's going better because some of these kids' TV shows,
Sí,
They're just not
definitivamente.
No son
Well,
buenos.
Try to feed you at a young age.
Sí, definitivamente.
No.
before, they wouldn't even let, like in the 19s, let's say, they wouldn't even let a couple stay in the same bed.
Mm.
But now it's the same bed, half naked. I'm like, what's going on here? So, yeah, and then the children see that and they're like, oh, I should do that. And oh, I should do this. And because their identity's still growing, they think it's all innocent and everything.
Sí.
That's what we really need to
Yeah.
be careful of.
Yeah.
Okay,
Tú
I'm done.
quieres hablar.
You want to say something, girl? Go ahead.
So basically, that's what the devil wants.
Ooh.
He wants us to get confused in
Yeah.
our identity. He wants to take it away so we won't know what we have for God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could do TikTok dances, but it's not. We're doing it to wrong music because we're not listening to the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Ujú.
So when we're doing it for God, it's a completely different thing
Yeah.
because we're expressing ourselves to Him.
Mm-hmm.
Muy bien.
Good one.
Hey,
Good one.
yes.
Están haciéndolo muy
You're
bien.
doing very well.
Espérate, pues yo aguanta.
You gotta hit his
espérate.
Hold on.
Voy a hacer una pregunta, pero como ella es la menos que habla, la voy a empezar con ella y van a responderla de aquí para acá.
Okay.
¿Ok? Es verdad que muchas veces, es verdad, se dice por ahí, o sea, siempre hay como un mito que dicen que muchas veces los jóvenes no expresan mucho sus sentimientos. ¿Eso es verdad o eso es falso?
So he's saying like there's a myth, right? That they say that youth now, hide their feelings. Is that true or false?
It's true
True.
¿En por qué?
Why?
because they feel like they're going to be judged by society, by their friends at school, by their parents, because that's why a lot of kids nowadays have trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't feel like they have that encouraged to be who they want to be.
So
Tradúcelo.
ella dijo que Sí, es verdad, porque sienten que van a ser juzgados, sea por la familia, los amigos o otro tipo de persona. Por eso es que ellos esconden sus sentimientos.
¿Y tú, Adasa, qué piensas?
I totally forgot what you said.
Tú piensas mucho, yo sé.
You said judgment. Oh, betrayal.
Rechazo.
Some children, they tell either their parents, mostly their friends, because they have really lack of trust. I don't know why, but with their parents. I should say from experience that yes, I would not trust my parents with some things, and I'll tell my friends, and either they would judge me or they would betray me in my things and tell everybody, and everybody will tease me, and I'm like, and that's when the trust issue starts. And then I
Traduce, espérate, para que antes que siga, porque yo sé que ya...
porque si la
Sí,
dejamos, mira, vamos a estar aquí. Estoy pensando en la palabra. ¿Sería rechazo?
Ahí me cogiste.
Ya, ella me cogió ahí también.
Sí, pues yo-
Porque básicamente es como rechazo. Say it again.
Traición.
Oh, traición. There we go. Thank you. Okay. So, otra cosa puede ser por el pensamiento de ser traicionado, sea por los padres, por los amigos. Es otra opción porque ellos esconden los sentimientos.
Entonces ella dijo que ella muchas veces no le dice a los papás, pero se lo dice a sus amigos.
Yes.
¿Verdad?
Yep.
Ahí nos quedamos, ¿sigue?
And that's where it all starts. And then you start really second guessing and stuff. And then the voices come. Maybe you should keep it in. Don't tell anybody. And then they start destroying you. That's when suicide comes in cuts, bruises, maybe violent of acts. That's why there's so many young people that are doing some. That's why there's so many fights in the school, maybe, because they're trying to show their emotions, but they feel that they have to keep it inside, and then the anger just bursts out when someone triggers them, and then they start school fighting, and then the teachers are no help at all. They probably just make it even worse. So the
Traduce.
I know, I'm like, wait a minute. Break. So, ella dijo de ser traicionado, después pasa el paso donde entran las voces, ¿verdad? Porque hay muchas veces que los jóvenes están lidiando con voces que le están tratando de dirigir en una dirección, y ahí es donde causa el problema, ¿verdad? Y ella dijo, eso puede ser una de las razones por la cual hay peleas en la escuela.
Y las voces siempre vienen de lo que papá quiere que tú seas, lo que tú quieres ser, lo que el mundo quiere que seas, pero lo que Dios quiere que tú seas. So, muchas cosas a la vez.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then continuing, shoot, I had something in my head. What was it? Oh yeah, smiling depression, and that comes and busting through the door. It's when you smile, a fake smile, you put on a mask, and that's what a lot, like probably half the world suffers from. Because a lot of people, I've looked at social media, I scrolled through my Snapchat, and I'm just seeing everybody saying, I am suffering, I have so much depression, anxiety, and I'm like, we all suffer through that. What's wrong with you? And then that's the reason why there's depression. Depression, it makes you feel like you're the only one that's suffering, which you're not. Actually, even your best friend might be suffering from that. And you guys are just keeping it in, just not telling each other, instead of putting on the mask and pretending everything's fine. But then, yes, you might also create that bond with your best friend, relationship with your best friend more than your parents do. And you think that you can trust that best friend until they betray you, until they lie to you, until you stab them in the back. And then I'm like, well, is God your best friend? Have you ever considered him?
Muy bien.
Wow.
There you go.
That was good. Otra opción es la depresión, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Ella dijo que hay momentos en donde ellos pasan por la depresión, y que la depresión es un lugar donde te hace sentir donde eres el único que está pasando por eso, que es nadie más. Y algunas veces hay jóvenes o gente también que pasan por la depresión, pero todavía están sonriendo. Pero después se expresan y están diciendo, estoy pasando por tanto problema, no tengo solución. Y, what else did you say?
Smiling depression, you said that already?
Huh?
Smiling depression?
Yes,
You already said that?
yes. That's where I'm at.
Está bien con eso.
I think,
Yeah.
Tú, Johan.
As you were talking about smile depression, as you call it, something came to mind. I was writing this English paper, it was a couple months ago for this class, and I had to use this word called dystopia. Now, dystopia is a mentality. I wouldn't call it a disorder. It's just a way of thinking, perceiving, if you will. It's being in a jail cell without even knowing it, being imprisoned without even knowing it. And I think, as a human, as a youth, I guess you'll call it, as a young person who's still growing, a lot of us, even people who are older and more mature, are all in dystopia, where we don't realize we're imprisoned. We're going through things. We're going through depression. We're suffering with anxiety, and we don't even know it. It's attacking us in ways we don't see, and a lot of it is spiritually. We're attacked a lot, and we don't even realize it sometimes. In God.
Voy a tratar de traducir esa palabra de la mejor forma que pueda.
So,
Dystopia.
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 D-Y-S-T-O.
es una enfermedad.
Ya, él
Sí.
dijo, o sea, una manera de pensar
Ujú,
donde uno se siente de que está en una prisión sin saber.
ujú.
So, estando ahí, hay momentos donde eso nos ataca y pasa más espiritual, ¿verdad?
Wow. ¿Qué ustedes piensan o cómo ustedes creen que nosotros los padres, me incluyo porque yo soy papá, ustedes como jóvenes, qué consejos le pueden dar a sus papás para que ellos puedan entenderlos más?
So you as youth, what advice can you give parents or your parents so they can understand you better?
Porque muchas veces los papás no entienden que ustedes pasan situaciones. Nosotros como padres olvidamos que fuimos jóvenes y se nos olvida a veces ponernos en los zapatos de ustedes y entenderlo, que ustedes pasan por momentos de cambios en su vida, en lo físico y en lo mental, y a veces se nos olvida que nosotros pasamos por eso y no tenemos la paciencia. So, ustedes como jóvenes, ¿qué consejo le pueden dar a los padres para que puedan entender o conectar más con sus jóvenes?
So he was saying that sometimes I was like, they got it. Okay. He was saying that sometimes them as parents, right, or your parents even, forget that they were youth as well. And that, you know, you guys have problems, you guys have issues. So he's saying, what type of advice can you give parents or your parents now so they can understand you better, so they can help you better?
Sean honestos.
Yeah.
Be honest, be
Sean
honest.
honestos,
Be
porque
honest.
ahora
That's
mismo
what you gotta do.
quizá tu respuesta, la respuesta de cada uno de ustedes, puede hacerle entender a un papá que debe de hacer algo mejor para tener mejor resultado con sus hijos. ¿Entienden?
Yeah, I got you. You got
Oh.
it?
Dale tú.
Don't all jump at once.
A ella. Yo quiero escucharla a ella.
Destiny.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think that they should try like walking in our shoes, because now everything's different than when they were teenagers, and to try to understand us, to not jump to conclusions.
¿Y cómo pueden ellos entenderte? O entenderlos.
How can they understand you?
O entender a los
Or
jóvenes.
understand youth in general
Like, try
nowadays?
like communicating more. Like that.
Ok, muy bien.
Comunicar
Me gusta.
más.
I'm bored with the communicating, but at the same time, yes, don't rush to conclusions and give us some space. It seems like when youth is really mad, we tend to go off into our room and close the door and involve in that anger. For me, I involve in all my emotions and try to figure out what did I do wrong, or if the other person is wrong, and I try to figure out what's going on. And then my mom or my father walks in and then just like, you should have done this, should have done that, and I'm like, I'm perfectly fine alone. Why do you have to come in? So I would suggest giving us a little bit space to process what we're feeling, and then when the heat dies down, when you're feeling better, and then when I come out, then we can talk about what in the world just happened.
Me gusta
'Cause it
también.
seems like
Okay.
we rush off when we're in the heat. We rush off, and then we're just screaming at each other, throwing things, and I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And then I get an attitude, and then my mom gets mad at me, and my sister comes out of nowhere, she hits me, and I just...
Desahógate.
Se está desahogando aquí.
Traduce un ching ahí. No, pero está bien, eso es lo que quiero.
No, ya. Y fue bueno lo que ella
Sí.
dijo, porque es algo que es necesario,
Sí.
¿verdad? So ella dijo que algo es espacio, ¿verdad? Que no corran a conclusiones o que piensen rápidamente en qué es lo que está pasando, sino que les den espacio para ellos poder dirigir o tener ese momento para poder
Reflexionar,
pensar,
¿no?
reflexionar en lo que está pasando, ¿verdad? Porque algunas veces se encuentran que ya están hablando antes de tiempo y las cosas todavía no se han calmado.
No se han calmado.
So ella estaba diciendo que es mejor que las cosas se calmen y después que pueden hablar, pueden comunicar.
Ahora tú, Johan.
That was good though.
That was-
No,
that was
definitivamente.
good. Yeah.
I think, I've seen in a lot of parents and maybe in my own.
Habla duro.
Sorry. So I've seen in a lot of parents and in my own personal parents that they think just because they have, we'll say, more than one child, that every child is going to be the same, you know?
Exacto.
And I think we have to remember, I'm not including me, but as parents that, as parents, you guys have to remember that we're still finding ourselves and we're not all the same. We're all considered youth, but we're not the same.
Yep.
Right? So the way we react to things, the way that we process things is totally different. I can be very quiet if I get upset about certain things and I'll just stay shut. Harasa can go completely mad and crazy if something happens.
Yes.
And I think in one situation, her father could act in it, right? So he could try to calm her down and relax. And in the other situation, her mother could go completely ballistic and go fire with fire. And I think we have to read our child, read how it is they act, how they respond, and speak the same language, understand. Because then that'll help you understand your kid more. What's really going on, what face are they putting on today?
Man, traduce ahí.
Yeah. So él estaba diciendo que algunas veces los padres piensan que como tienen un hijo, que todos son iguales.
Exacto.
Y no es así. Todos son diferentes, ¿verdad? Cada cuerpo tiene su propio mundo. So él estaba diciendo que algunas veces de la forma que ellos reaccionan no es igual a como el otro hijo o hija puede reaccionar. Y también que hay momentos en donde los padres pueden reaccionar de una manera que no ayuda, que en verdad causa más fuego en vez de calmar las cosas.
Yeah.
I'm going to add something that a lot of strict parents concerning mine do. That I would suggest to add more freedom and of speech and of like liberty, because my parents, they don't like me to have sleepovers because they're like, we have a bed at home, like why do you need to sleep over at anyone's house? And I'm like, well, I want to enjoy their company and stuff. But like you see them at church or you see them at school, and I'm like, not the same.
Yeah.
So I would really recommend giving your child more freedom of friendship, but you have to also be careful that the child doesn't abuse the friendship, or if you're giving the child too much of it, you have to have a certain balance. That yes, you should have your child sleepovers. That's just my opinion. And also, make sure your child is also heard, because a lot of parents, they think what they say, that's it, no more talking. Then a discussion, and the child has something to say that maybe change the parent's mind. But then when they see that they can't say anymore, they say shut. That's what happens, and then your feelings stay shut, and then you always have to be this way around your parents or this way around your friends. And you really should give your child the freedom of speech. Of course, if they're gonna say something over and over, my sister like, I want to play this. I'm like, no. I want to play that. I'm like, no. And then she keeps going on and on. I'm like, you know what? The conversation is done. That's when you should shut it down. If they keep saying the thing over and over and over. But if they have different things to say, then I would really recommend, letting your child speak out their word.
Traduce y quiero añadir algo a lo que ella dijo.
Okay. So, la primera cosa que ella dijo es que los padres deben darle un poquito más de libertad, pero con un balance.
Sí.
ahí.
Sí, yo vi que se desahogó ahí. Que
Ya,
no
se
de-
desahogó. Pero un poquito más de libertad. Pero también ella dijo algo que es bien interesante, que deben de escuchar más, ¿verdad? Porque hay algunas veces donde ellos se quieren expresar o se pueden expresar, pero algunas veces los padres sienten que lo que ellos dicen, eso es lo que va. No quieren escuchar nada más. Pero algunas veces lo que el hijo puede decir o la hija puede decir puede cambiar la mente del padre o la madre o los dos. So, que escuchen más.
Ok, eso es muy interesante, pero a la misma vez también es un poco, es algo que se puede debatir un poco. En el sentido de que, pues, hay cosas nosotros como padres hemos vivido y muchas veces no queremos que nuestros hijos vivan lo mismo. ¿Me entienden? Y hay muchas veces que los papás tratamos de dar lo mejor, el mejor consejo que podamos por la experiencia que tenemos a ustedes. Y ustedes están creciendo y a veces pues, hay cosas que ustedes piensan que los papás, oh, esa es cosa antigua, eso es viejo, ya es todo diferente. Pero en realidad en nuestro interior lo que queremos es lo mejor para ustedes. ¿Ok? So, aunque ustedes sientan que quizás ellos no los entienden, ellos escuchar como ustedes están hablando, quizás muchas cosas pueden cambiar, porque pueden ver ya otro punto de vista. ¿Me siguen?
Yeah.
¿Algo que quieran añadir? No, ok. ¿Qué ustedes piensan que la iglesia en general, no estamos hablando solamente nosotros, acuérdense que la iglesia somos nosotros, no el lugar. ¿Qué debe de hacer la iglesia? O sea, ¿qué debemos hacer nosotros como iglesia para poder alcanzar más jóvenes y acercarse más a los jóvenes?
So what do you think the church should do to get closer to the youth? Not just us, right? Because we are the church. This is a temple. The four walls is a temple. It is a church, but we are also the church. So what do you think a church should do in order to get closer to youth?
I got it.
No, go ahead.
I would, you mentioned this earlier, and I answered I would suggest more outings, because it seems like youth does not want to always stay in one place for too long. They want to go out with friends and family, or sometimes they do want to stay themselves and consider themselves. There's always introverts and extroverts, but we should always go out in the family, and if you see, examine the youth in this world and see what they do, but also transfigure it for good, because most of it is really bad, so just twist it around a little. And I would, suggest like more billboards, like, oh, we're going to have this festival, or we're going to have this congress, so we would like you to join. Please come. And, more outings, see our church, post it on more social media, because that's what youth is mostly into. And, encourage them in different things. I watched this video about this grandmother. Her the grandson gave her this PC, right? Or Xbox or whatever, I don't remember.
Gaming
And then
console?
this name of that. And she it had Fortnite on it, and she would play on it. I don't know how she was in her 80 something. I'm like, you play better than me. And then she saw on social media that other people were playing it, and she started to encourage them. And she went so viral that everybody kept calling her grandma as their own. So I think we should do that with the youth, as in a church. We should encourage youth in pushing in good, so that they will also bring them to us. Let's do like a nice big circle, like the water circle. Water circle. The rain cycle.
Ah, the rain
Oh,
cycle.
water
Okay,
circle.
okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Okay,
forget what I
was like,
said.
wait, what?
But
Dang.
we should really do that. Incorporate the youth in a lot of our activities.
Me gusta. Para ir cerrando, porque ya veo que ya está entrando el tarde y no quiero que me regañe sus papás. Me gustó oír, escucharlos, me gustó hablar con ustedes, conocerlos un poco más. Espero que esto se repita.
Yes. Yes.
Yo sé que les va a gustar una vez que vean el resultado y van a motivar a otros.
Yeah.
Ustedes
Yes.
como jóvenes hoy en día que conocen a Dios, su vida, conocen a Jesús, no solamente lo que Él quien Él es aquí, sino lo que Él ha hecho en sus vidas. ¿Qué consejo le puede dar ustedes a un joven o a una persona que esté viendo este video y diga, wow, este muchacho está dando un consejo muy sabio? En su experiencia con Jesús, ¿qué mejor consejo le pueden dar a otros?
So, in your experience with Jesus, right? What is an advice?
El
that you
mejor
can give,
consejo que
or
puedan
the
dar.
best advice that you can give to
Por,
a
e-
youth.
por ejemplo, yo no conozco a Jesús. Tú conoces a Jesús. ¿Qué tú me puedes decir a mí para convencerme que Jesús? ¿Sí?
Yeah.
To let him in.
Mm.
To accept him. Because if we don't accept him, then how are we gonna have connection with him?
Apláudelo.
Yes. So ella dijo que lo deje entrar, ¿verdad? Que lo tenemos que aceptar, porque como él puede trabajar con nosotros si no lo aceptamos.
Amén. Definitivo. Muy bien.
Question again? What happened?
So, in your experience with Jesus Christ, right? What is the best advice that you can give to a youth, right, that doesn't know Christ but is watching this right now?
If you're watching this right now, pay close attention. Open up their ears. so I need you to listen to this. That God has never forsaken you. He's always loved you, and do not be afraid. Those are a lot of promises that most of the 3 promises that God always promises in the Bible. That He'll never forsake you. That you're always there with Him, no matter if you're in the toughest times. Hear me closely to this, because a lot of people, even me, I can go through this and I can hear this. I don't perceive it, but then when I reflect on it in my sad times, then I actually listen to it. But I want you to listen to it now, whether you're happy, sad, mad, or angry. I don't care. But I need you to understand that God loves you. He'll always do, no matter if your parents don't. They somehow will, because what else? No, you're created. If you're still alive today, that means God isn't done with you.
Amen.
He still loves you.
Amen.
Yes.
God has never forsaken you. When had He ever? You wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be standing in your position right now. Things will get better. That's all I can wish for you. And then
Traduce.
So
We gotta get a
ella
timer
dijo-
for you.
Yes, literally. Like right
Hay
here.
que hacer uno solo para ella.
Yes, literal. Oh my God. Okay, so algo que ella dijo, algunas de las cosas.
Sí,
porque
sí,
te voy a
resúmelo,
preguntar.
claro,
Ajá.
porque hay mucho.
Porque ella dijo que Dios nunca te ha dejado, siempre ha estado ahí y siempre va a estar ahí.
Amén.
¿Verdad? Esa fue una de las cosas. Otra cosa que tú dijiste fue
you said love, and then do not be afraid.
y que no tengas miedo. Esas fueron las 3 cosas que ella dijo.
Because God says do not be afraid, because when Jesus called Peter to walk on water, was it Peter, right?
Yes.
Sí.
Peter walked a few steps, but then he saw all the wind and all the sea, and he started drowning. And then Jesus literally had to reach out His hand to save Peter, but because of Peter's lack of faith and his fear of everything around him, he couldn't focus on God. And that's where God tells us, do not be afraid of anything that's going around you, because again, He won't forsake you, and He loves you.
Amén.
Amen.
Yo,
Cut the mic. I'm sorry. You have to repeat the question.
So, in your experience with Jesus Christ, right? What is your best advice that you can give a youth that is watching this right now?
One thing that helped me, or through my experience, has been reading the Bible. It's hard to read anything in general. To be honest, I don't like reading.
el que no le gusta leer es difícil.
Yeah, very true. And the Bible's hard to understand. I'm not gonna lie.
Sí.
When I first started reading, I didn't understand a single word. But I think those mornings where I didn't feel like waking up, but by His grace I woke up, it felt 10 times better to kneel down, pray to Him, ask Him for wisdom so I can read His word and understand it. one thing I always say is what you said actually. If you're awake, it's because there's a purpose that you still haven't fulfilled yet, and it's God's purpose.
Amén.
So I think one thing we need to focus on really is when we wake up to mercy. We're awake. His breath is in our lungs again, another day. That's a blessing in its own. So taking that in and really understanding it, you feel His love just in that alone. Opening your eyes when you wake up.
Traduce un ching ahí.
Mira, voy a tratar.
No, lo más importante, lo más
Ya,
importante.
lo más importante. Él dijo que una de las cosas que pueden hacer es leer la palabra, ¿verdad? Y otra cosa es uno realizar, ¿verdad? Que cuando uno despierta, está despertando a su misericordia.
Amén.
Y al despertar en su misericordia, que eso es una bendición. Y uno puede sentir su amor por eso.
Amén. Las tres respuestas, los tres me resultaron bastante excelentes. Fueron muy, muy claros en su respuesta. Pero creo que la más importante de todas fue la que ella dio, que es abrir tu corazón y dejar que entre.
Yes.
Yeah.
Porque si tú no permites que Él entre, no podrás ni conocer quién eres, ni poder entablar una relación con Él. Yo creo que lo primero que todo es abrir tu corazón. Así que si hay un consejo que le pueda dar a alguno de los jóvenes que esté viendo, o algún adulto, una persona que pueda ver este video, es abra su corazón y deje que Dios trabaje y haga lo que tenga que hacer y Él arregle lo que hay que arreglar. Usted no podrá cambiar cosas en su vida si no permite que Él lo haga primero. Amén. Creo que todos estamos de acuerdo con eso, ¿verdad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Y para cerrar con esto, quiero darle las gracias a cada uno de ustedes. Un aplauso, que lo hicieron muy bien.
Thank you.
Como les dije, espero que se repita,
Yes.
Yeah.
que podamos volver a hablar de nuevo, quizás otro día que no sea tan tarde.
Yes.
Porque ya veo que ustedes hablan más de lo que
Yes.
creen.
Yeah, we talk a lot.
Y quizás hacerlo más divertido con otro tema.
Yeah.
¿Ven? Pero más que todo era para que la gente o los jóvenes que puedan ver esto puedan conocer quiénes son ustedes y a través de sus vidas ellos puedan ver a Dios. Quizás no pueden ver a Jesús físicamente, pero ustedes, cada uno de ustedes representa a Jesús de una manera u otra. Su trabajo es compartir este video para que otros jóvenes como ustedes puedan conocer a Jesús a través de su vida. Amén. Como les dije, gracias cada uno de ustedes, gracias a Isi, gracias a sus padres también por permitir que estuvieran aquí a esta hora. Y nada, gracias a Papá Dios también por darnos la oportunidad de poder conversar. Así que ustedes pueden seguirnos a través de las redes sociales, Hablando Claro Podcast. Estamos en YouTube, Hablando Claro Podcast. Y comparte este contenido, bendiga la vida de una persona a través de estos testimonios, a través de lo que se habla. Y dele la oportunidad a Dios en su corazón si usted no conoce a Dios. También queremos que mantengan conectados con nosotros porque tenemos muchas cosas que vamos a traer, muchos invitados. Y tenemos una actividad prontamente aquí en la Casa de Jóvenes.
Hey.
En nuestro primer concierto de música urbana, que lo hacemos para eso mismo, para poder conectar con la juventud del área,
Yes.
de los que nos rodean. Así que sabemos que va a ser de bendición. Estará con nosotros en junio 3 y 4 nuestro hermano y amigo Cristian Ponce va a estar con nosotros de Puerto Rico y va a ministrar y va a cantar y sé que esto va a estar bueno. Amén. Así que gracias una vez más a ustedes por sintonizarnos y esperemos ver la próxima. Esto fue Hablando Claro.